Hello, and welcome to the Piano Lessons for Parents podcast, the practice edition. My name is Dr. N. Mason Conklin, and I'm here to help you help your child succeed at the piano. In just a few minutes a week, you can learn the basic musical concepts that will help you supervise and evaluate your child's practice time at home, and learn some tricks and tips to make that practice time the most effective that it can be. On today's episode of the podcast, I'm going to give you the two most important words you can say to your child when they're practicing. Are you ready? Here they are. Slow down. You should practice with me because if you can say this to your kids in exactly this manner, maybe they'll listen. So let's try it together. Slow down. Learning to play the piano is a difficult task, and learning to read the music in itself is also a difficult task. There's so many things that you have to do. You have to know how long each note lasts. You have to keep your beat steady. You have to know which notes to play. You have to know which fingers you're going to play them with. You have to know whether you need to be playing them loud or soft. You have to follow other musical instructions. These are a lot of things for a young kid to manage on their own. And what happens usually is they just don't have the brain processing power to get all of those tasks simultaneously. What they'll normally do is they'll focus on one or two aspects of the piece they need to play. They will usually focus on what notes they need to play. And in fact, that's where most kids stop. Some of them will try to focus on where to put their hands and what fingers to play, and that's where it will stop. They simply don't have enough processing power to manage all of those tasks at the same time. They will forget that they need to have a steady beat. They will forget that they need to count the notes that they're playing. They will blow through rests. They will just make these simple mistakes because they don't have the capacity to keep all of these different concepts going simultaneously, especially if they're playing too fast. What we can do to make it easier to perform all of these tasks simultaneously is to slow down. And it's really just that simple. If they will concentrate on going much slower and counting out loud while they play, they will be able to manage steady beat, the notes they need to play, and the fingerings they need to play. After they practice those, and that gets a little bit easier, they can focus on whether they need to be playing loud or soft. This is just how you learn a piece. And slowing down is probably step one. And anytime you try to refine a performance, say it's time now to add the dynamics, add the loud and soft parts to it, you're probably going to need to slow down to give your child time to notice the changes in the music. So, this song right here is Party Cat. It's also from the Hal Leonard Lessons Book 1. And in this piece, they have a number of additional challenges that they haven't had before. For one, they're using white keys, C, D, E, in the right hand. Now, just that alone is enough to throw some kids, because they've been used to practicing on the black keys. When you're on the black keys, you can feel if you're on them. If you move over a little bit, you kind of fall off the edge of a cliff. When you're playing on the white keys, if you move over a little bit, you can't really tell that you've moved over, because all the keys are at the same height. So just having to play on the white keys is an additional task that's going to be very taxing on their brain processing powers. Not only that, they also have to use finger 1 in the right hand. And this is a finger we've not used a whole lot at the piano up to this point. The thumb is different than the other fingers. You have to play on the side of the finger instead of on the fingerprint part of the finger. They're used to this. And so when it comes time to play with finger 1, some of them think they have to do it like this, like doing a fingerprint on the note. And so it takes a while for them to get used to this sensation of playing on the side of a finger, like you have to do with finger number 1. So just those two things alone make it very difficult for them to count the music. They can't apportion that part of their brain to keeping a steady beat because they're worried so much about staying on the right notes and correctly using finger 1. So what you'll normally hear whenever they try to play this piece is they'll start too fast and it will sound something like this. That's wrong. Their beat is not steady at all. They'll have beat, 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 and then a note. They're not really counting. They're just playing the notes in the correct sequence. So, to help them in the lesson, we make them slow down. I say, okay, now we're going to play this piece, but we're going to keep it very even and steady. And we're going to go really slow. We're going to go 1, 2, ready, play. 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 2. 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 2. And that at least is an even and steady beat with the correct notes and the correct fingers. After that becomes a little bit easier for them, then we can speed it up a little. But until they get it steady, you can't speed it up. One of my little sayings is you can't speed up herky-jerky. That's as fast as that's ever going to go, and it's never going to be even. Until you make it fluid and even in between the motions, you're not going to be able to speed that up. So the first step is necessarily playing it slow. When do you know that you need to go into your child's practice room and say, slow down? You can usually hear it. You'll hear that the beat is unsteady. Try walking to the music that they're playing. You should be able to walk to it quite easily. So if they're doing it correctly, you could go step, 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 step. Now, I want you to try walking to this music as I play it. See if you can keep your footfalls lined up where they need to be. Okay, you'll find that waiting for the next note where you're supposed to step, you'll be hovering in the air for a length of time, and it's just not a comfortable walking or marching pace at all. So that's one way you can tell that you need to go in and tell your child to slow down. Another way is to listen to see if they're counting correctly. Maybe they're keeping a pretty steady beat, but they're not honoring notes that are worth more than one beat. Usually you can hear this because the music will seem to hiccup. It's hard for me to describe, but you know how long it probably should last, and it doesn't seem to be lasting that long. I'll play it that way now, with hiccuping music. There's part of us that know that this music should be organized in 4 beats, and when they get to rock and roll is where it's at, and that note should be longer, and it's not long, we can hear the changing organization of the music, and it feels like a hiccup. Rock and roll is where it's at for my family's party cat lies up. You can just kind of feel it. I can't describe it any other way. Okay, so practice with me again the 2 most important words you can say with your child when they're practicing. You ready? Slow down. All right, that's it for this episode of the Practice Edition. Make sure to tune in next week for another episode of Piano Lessons for Parents. I'll see you then.